What's going on, everyone? My name is Jasmine. On today's episode of the Slame Project, we're going to be talking about Jennifer Catcheway. She disappeared in June 2008 on her 18th birthday. She is presumed dead, and her parents believe that they have solved her murder, but they just cannot prove it or find her body. To start off the video, I'm going to talk about systemic racism. And if you would like to skip over that presentation, I'm going to leave a timestamp on the screen so you could jump right into Jennifer's case. And if you would like to see more videos on missing and murdered Indigenous people, click that subscribe button and the notification bell. Now let's get right into it. Canada has been ravaged by the MMIW epidemic. The First Nations people have fought hard for decades to bring awareness to their missing and murdered relatives. There have been numerous inquiries involving many different cases, and even a national inquiry in 2016 that lasted 3 years. And out of all these inquiries that seem to happen over and over, there have been over 200 recommendations, and nothing ever seems to change. The root causes have been clearly defined by these inquiries. However, the Indigenous population could have laid out these root causes without a multi-million-dollar national inquiry. I have also spoken of such root causes in numerous videos, and there are also a lot of traumas inflicted within the Native population itself, causing harm to one another. The cause of harming another member of the community stems from addictions, trauma, and learned behaviors from other people who also have been affected by past traumas. And Jennifer may have been harmed by members of her own community. But the fact is that nothing will ever really change without removing one major obstacle, and that is systemic racism. This more than likely is not ever going to happen, but what it does is recycle all the traumas over and over again. And it is so embedded into our society that most people do not even realize that they hold certain thoughts towards the Native population. Often we are just told to get over the colonial violence and cultural genocide. A lot of people just often assume that the Indigenous population are just killing themselves and each other. People who say these things do not realize how deep these invisible wounds have cut into the hearts and souls of the Indigenous population. Inheriting heartbreak and trauma through DNA is a real thing that most people do not understand. I will link my second Pine Ridge video down below, where I go over epigenetics if you would like to learn more. On a Canadian educational broadcast outlet called TVO, two Indigenous women named Linda DeBossegay, who is the chief of her community, and Suzanne Stewart, who is a professor at the University of Toronto, debated with two non-Indigenous former professors and authors. Frances Widdowson was a professor at the Mount Royal University in Calgary before being fired for her racist beliefs in 2021. And Tom Flanagan, who was a professor at the University of Calgary and was once an advisor to former Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper. Tom has also been criticized for his racist comments. During this debate, Frances said that Indigenous people learning their culture does not help or provide any type of solutions to the problems Indigenous communities face in this modern day society. She went on to say that Indigenous communities must rely on the services that the Government of Canada can provide. Frances's opinions were very insensitive. Linda responded by telling her that learning her traditional ways helped save her life because she had attempted to take her own life on 3 separate occasions when she was younger. Most non-Indigenous people do not realize that learning one's cultural ways and language helps build strength, reclaim identity, and is a lifeline to help escape hardships brought on by colonial violence by healing from the inside first. I will link this debate down below, and I highly recommend that you watch it. It's called Surviving Canada. Racism is not only rampant in Canada, but it is also a major factor against tribes in the United States. Indigenous people of the US and Canada were almost annihilated by the same policies that were used in the founding of North America. Foreign diseases also ran rampant throughout the indigenous population, wiping out a huge chunk. And it is hard to explain and hard for people to understand the difficulties that were forced upon us. It is something that is mostly understood when you have lived it. Indigenous people had their basic human rights removed from them. They could not speak their own language, practice their ceremonies, or raise their children because they were sent away to residential schools. Losing our cultural identity was part of the assimilation plan. "Kill the Indian and save the man" is a famous quote by Captain Richard H. Pratt, who founded the infamous Carlisle Indian School in the United States. The native populations were confined to desolate reservations by their governments where there is little hope for a thriving economy, which placed them in extreme poverty, and they kept the best pieces of land for themselves. The native population thrived and wanted for nothing before the European way of life spread across the continent. And from this, there is a whole host of other struggles, including addictions, self-harm, and the MMIP epidemic. There are many other problems that snowball from these problems. It is a system that was designed for failure. One woman swept away by the MMIW epidemic is Jennifer Catcheway. Jennifer went missing on her 18th birthday on Thursday, June 19th, 2008. At the time, she was living in Winnipeg with her best friend. She would often visit her parents in Portage la Prairie, which is about 85 kilometers west of Winnipeg. The Tuesday before her birthday, on June 17, 2008, she came home to her parents and was discussing party plans. She said that she wanted a steak barbecue, and her mom, Bernice, agreed. Jennifer also had been in a relationship with someone, and she tried to introduce him to the family numerous times before, but Bernice always said no. But Jennifer asked if she could bring him to the barbecue, and Bernice finally said okay. Jennifer could have anything she wanted that day. After the party plans were set, Jennifer asked her mom if she could go get her some ice cream. So Bernice went to the store and picked up the ice cream and the other party food. When she came back, she saw Jennifer walking down the road. She asked her mom to put the ice cream in the fridge. This was the last time that Bernice ever saw Jennifer. Bernice had said her husband Wilfred had trained the family to leave notes when they left that said where they were going and when they were coming back. So when she got into the house, she saw the note Jennifer left for her. It said that she was going for a walk and probably going to see her cousin Vernon. It also said to please put her ice cream in the basement fridge. On the series Taken, Jennifer's brother Willie Starr was interviewed. He said that before Jennifer went missing, she was partying a little and he tried to talk to her about it. She argued with him, but Willie said that he just decided not to fight with her and just love her while she was still around, because you never know when someone will be gone. Which is eerie, considering that Jennifer would never be found, dead or alive, since her birthday in June 2008. The day of Jennifer's birthday arrived, and she called her mom at about 9 a.m. and said, "Mom, it's my birthday." Jennifer was super excited for this day. Bernice said, "I know, I'm getting things ready." She then asked Jennifer where she was, and Bernice could hear her ask someone else where they were. Jennifer then said she was in Skownon. Bernice asked what she was doing there and told her to come home ASAP before she hung up the phone. Jennifer never answered her before she hung up, and this is something that Bernice regrets. Skownon First Nation is also known as Waterhen First Nation. It was signed on Treaty 2 as Waterhen, but the name Skownon is a Cree and Ojibwe word that means turning point. Jennifer's family used to live in Skownon until 1996. Wilfred said that they lived in a nice home there. He said that he was an alcoholic before he sobered up and that he became a drug and alcohol counselor on the reservation. But there was corruption within the band leadership and there were many protests. Wilfred and Bernice were arrested for protesting and their children placed into CFS care. The family was doing good at this time, and Wilfred said that they were portrayed as gang members, so CFS took their kids. All they were doing was standing up against corruption, and anyone who did was sent to jail for not lying down and complying with the corruption. They had to fight hard to get their kids back, but they were eventually banished from the reserve, and then they moved to the Winnipeg area and eventually settled in Portage la Prairie. The family sometimes wonder if Jennifer would still be here if these events had not happened. Jennifer's family was waiting for her to arrive at her barbecue on June 19th, but she never showed up. Bernice was waiting from that Thursday night and through the weekend, but she did not hear from Jennifer. Jennifer was now an adult and had already been living on her own. Bernice figured she would give her a couple days and she would show up. Bernice is an ordained minister and she was getting ready for church the following Sunday on June 22nd, 2008. At about 7 a.m., she got a call from her sister Julie. She told Bernice that Jennifer was involved romantically with her husband Charles Peranto, who was 38 years old at the time. Bernice was shocked and in disbelief. Bernice would soon learn that Jennifer was last known to be with Charles and her cousin named Sean Catcheway, who was 28 years old at the time. The pair would come to see Bernice the following day, on Monday, June 23rd, a day after her sister called. Bernice was home on her lunch break when Charles pulled up in his red truck. She opened her upstairs window to ask him what he wanted, and he said that he wanted to talk. So Bernice went downstairs and opened the door. The first thing she said was, "Where's Jennifer?" Charles said that he dropped her off and that he was sorry. Bernice started to get scared and she said, "Sorry for what?" She asked what he was doing with Jennifer because she was just a kid and that he had a wife. At some point during the conversation, Sean got out of the truck and stood next to Charles. Bernice heard enough. She told them her sister Julie called yesterday and told her about the two having a relationship. And remember, Jennifer just turned 18, so she was technically underage when all this was allegedly going on. Bernice then told him she was going to the RCMP. Charles's attitude changed quickly. He said, "Go ahead, we have the same story." Charles and Sean then hopped into the truck and drove away. Bernice called into work the rest of the day and went to the Portage la Prairie RCMP detachment. The RCMP were of no help. They told Bernice that Charles and Sean had just left the RCMP detachment before she showed up. Bernice has stated that she does not know if the RCMP had taken a statement from them or if they simply just spoke to them. But they dismissed Bernice's concerns and said to give Jennifer a week and that she was probably out on a drunk. This angered Jennifer's family because they knew nothing about Jennifer or her family. Bernice eventually just left because they refused to take the missing persons report. Jennifer's family believe the RCMP stereotyped Jennifer because she is Indigenous. An investigator with the RCMP has denied the racial stereotyping claim. They went on to say that the police officer Bernice had spoken with was also Indigenous. This may be true, but this Indigenous officer still could have racially stereotyped Jennifer. It was learned that Charles and Sean had taken Jennifer up to Grand Rapids, Manitoba, that is about 420 kilometers north of Portage la Prairie. Charles was a known drug dealer, and it is believed he went up there to sell coke. It has been stated that there is a picture at a house party that confirms Jennifer was in Grand Rapids with Charles and Sean. Witnesses there say they last saw Jennifer getting into a truck with Charles and Sean. And then sometime after this, it is believed that is when Jennifer called Bernice on the morning of her birthday. Charles would say that he dropped Jennifer off along Highway 6 at Gypsumville Road because she wanted to get out of the car. This area is very remote and at about the halfway point between Portage la Prairie and Grand Rapids. Bernice does not understand why Jennifer would want to get out there in the middle of nowhere. Jennifer's family began the search by plastering the area in missing person flyers. They went to hang them up in Dauphin, Swan River, Skownon, Rock Ridge, and everywhere in between. By Thursday the 26th, the RCMP still had not done anything, and not knowing what else to do, Bernice called the office of the Southern Chiefs Organization. Before she was elected, First Nations politician Nahanni Fontaine worked there and spoke with Bernice. She told her to document everything. The Catcheways have taken this advice and put in the necessary work investigating their daughter's disappearance. Wilfred immediately quit his job as a drug and alcohol counselor to search for his daughter. He has dedicated his life to finding Jennifer. He has interviewed over 1,000 people and they are all recorded. Everything is documented. Wilfred has his own office space in his garage and also has a storage unit full of his investigative findings. He also now suffers from anxiety attacks and has had 2 heart attacks caused by stress. Despite this, he keeps on going in hopes of locating Jennifer's remains. The only thing that will stop him is death. The RCMP did eventually take the missing persons report and began to help the family search for Jennifer for a short time. There was a tip received that said Jennifer was last at a house party on the Dakota Teepee First Nation, which is a very short drive from Portage la Prairie. The family was told that screams were also heard there on the night Jennifer vanished. The Catcheway searched the area for 4 days before the RCMP and Manitoba Search and Rescue joined them on July 4, 2008, and searched for 5 days. These search teams deployed 3 search dogs and also used thermal imaging helicopters. The search also focused heavily on the home where the house party was held. If Jennifer was at this house party, was it before or after the trip to Grand Rapids? The following news clip says that Jennifer's undergarments were found nearby on a sand dune and also shows the home she was supposedly at the night she disappeared on the Dakota Teepee First Nation.
Portage la Prairie girl has been missing since June 19th, the day she turned 18.
It's not like Jennifer to stay away or to be. We're a close family, a very, very close family.
For the past 4 days, her mother, sisters, friends, and family have been searching for Jennifer. Today, Manitoba Search and Rescue joined the family in their efforts.
We're going to be doing 4 days of extensive searches here for the areas of interest that we identify.
This is one of the key locations that Manitoba Search and Rescue is focusing in on. That's because some people in the community have said this home was the last place they saw Jennifer at a house party.
This home is on the Dakota Teepee First Nation. The search has been focused here for the past few days because of that tip. Jennifer's mom also says RCMP told her some of her daughter's undergarments were found on a sand dune here. But she's hopeful with the help of the new search team, they'll find her.
I feel good, and I actually feel better that there's search and rescue here to support us, and I feel confident.
The independent rescue team that has joined the family includes a team of 3 dogs. The team says one of their trained dogs in the field is equivalent to 50 people, and it's expected that 100 volunteers will help the family tomorrow.
5 days we're going to flood the community with the search.
At a meeting today, the family and rescue team organized search groups that will start combing through the area tomorrow. At night, they will be searching with thermal gear.
What it does is it picks up heat signatures and it's line of sight. So what we'll be doing is we'll be going out at night with the dog teams and the thermal gear, seeing if we can pick anything up.
Late this afternoon, RCMP announced their major crime and serious crime units are now assisting in this investigation. They are currently following leads in an area north of Winnipeg, near Gypsumville. 2 adult males have since been arrested, questioned, and released without charge. Arthi Pole, CBC News, Dakota Teepee First Nation.
Nothing else was found in Dakota Teepee that would indicate what happened to Jennifer. It also is possible that someone could have dumped Jennifer's clothing in the area to throw off the investigation. Her family has searched through the garbage dumps of Dakota Teepee numerous times looking for her remains. There were problems with the chief of Dakota Teepee for a little while. They told the Catcheways they couldn't search the garbage dumps because it was causing damage and putting the community in a bad spotlight. The chief later reversed this decision and allowed the searches to continue. In early July 2008, the RCMP also searched the thick forest around Gypsumville, where Charles said he let Jennifer out. This also turned up nothing. If Charles really did let her out of the truck after a disagreement, did someone else pick her up? The area is very remote, and there may not be any witnesses that would have seen her walking. Shortly after she vanished, the Catcheways walked from Portage La Prairie all the way to Grand Rapids. It took them 30 days, and they searched very thoroughly in the roadside ditches along the way. It also has been stated that dead animals were also hampering the search efforts. Valuable time was used in tracking down the decomposing smells that turned out to be wildlife. When they got to Grand Rapids, they met the RCMP there and asked what they had been doing to locate Jennifer. They were not even aware of the situation. The Catcheways also met with the owner of the home where Jennifer, Sean, and Charles were at. They were shown pictures that show them at the house, and there seemed to be a party at the time they were there. The date this picture was taken was on June 19th. Wilfred testified at the National Inquiry into MMIW and said that he contacted gas stations along Highway 6 to see if they had camera footage of Charles gassing up. By this time it was 3 months later, but he got lucky. There was footage found that showed him at the Powderhorn gas bar. I could not find out if this was before or after they were in Grand Rapids, or if Jennifer was seen in the footage. An anonymous source in Grand Rapids told the Winnipeg Free Press that the RCMP interviewed staff at the Northbrook Inn, and they said that Charles had rented a room there on June 19th and 21st, but did not have a room on the 20th. Staff there did not know exactly who he was with, but only seen him with another man in his pickup truck. No witnesses reported seeing a female with Charles and the male he was seen with. Remember, Jennifer's birthday was on June 19th, and she was supposed to be on her way home to celebrate with her family. And she told her mom that morning that she was in Skownon. We can only believe they were in Skownon if we believe Charles or Sean told her the truth about where they were. So why wasn't she seen at the Northbrook Inn? Reports would later say that Charles and Sean were arrested, questioned, and released. A search of Sean's truck also did not lead to anything. Charles would be murdered on December 27th, 2015. He was stabbed to death in Duck Bay, Manitoba. He was 45 years old. Jennifer's family never wished him any harm and only wanted answers from him that are now forever lost. Shortly before he died, he called Bernice and said he wanted to take a polygraph test to clear his name. It is believed he did take the test, but the RCMP would not share the results with Bernice when she asked. This upset Bernice because she said the RCMP had told her the results of 2 other women who passed their lie detector tests. Charles also told Bernice that he was never interviewed by the RCMP. When she asked about this, she was told that he was not officially interviewed. Bernice also spoke of an encounter she had with Charles. She asked him why. He pointed at her and said, "Do you believe in God?" She was a minister and he knew this. She told him that she did. Charles said, "Then you'll find her." Bernice and Wilfred have been since wondering what he meant by saying this, and if he was really trying to perhaps give them a hint about where he put Jennifer. The Catcheways have searched at old churches and cemeteries because of what Charles said about God. The family also conducted searches in Duck Bay. Shortly after Jennifer disappeared in September 2008, Charles was arrested in Duck Bay on charges of abduction and rape of an 18-year-old woman. These charges were dropped and he was released. Jennifer told Bernice over the phone on her birthday that she was in Skownon. Duck Bay would be a little farther than Skownon, but it's possible that they could have stopped in Skownon if they did travel to Duck Bay. But in 2016, Wilfred began to search the waters of Duck Bay with the help of Kyle Kematch, who was a member of the search group Drag the Red before he passed away. Nothing was found in Duck Bay. But the area where Jennifer is believed to have disappeared from is very vast and remote. And the bushes in the remote north can grow taller than a person, making it nearly impossible to locate a body. Finding a body here without knowledge of where to look would be a miracle. And there is always the possibility that any remains dumped in the open could be consumed by wildlife. The region also has a lot of water, swampy areas, and trees. If Jennifer was buried, she may never be found. But all the information Wilfred has received over the years has always led him back to the Dakota Teepee First Nation. Wilfred has accumulated a lot of data over the 15 years Jennifer has been missing, and even compiled a USB drive and gave it to an RCMP investigator. He followed up with the investigator and they told him the USB drive didn't work. When Wilfred got it back, it was in proper working condition. He does not even know if they ever looked at it. Jennifer is presumed dead, but without a body or any other evidence, no charges were ever filed. In late 2021, Bernice came down with COVID and was hospitalized in the ICU. I was hoping that Sean would have the courage to speak up and give some real information about Jennifer to end her family's suffering. But unfortunately, he never did, and the search continues. There are so many unanswered questions that remain, such as, was Charles the boyfriend Jennifer wanted to introduce to her family? Was Jennifer really in Skownon the morning of her birthday? Why did Charles only rent a room in Grand Rapids on June 19th and 21st and not on the 20th? What was he doing the day he was not renting the room? Bernice's sister called her on June 22nd and made the claim that Charles and Jennifer were involved. Did she know Jennifer was missing at the time? Why were Jennifer's undergarments found on the sand dune in Dakota Teepee? Where were the rest of her clothes? Could they have been planted there to throw off the investigation? If they were, I believe that Jennifer is nowhere near Dakota Teepee. There is currently a $20,000 reward for information leading to the recovery of Jennifer's remains. No questions asked. You can remain anonymous. Please contact the Manitoba Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477 or go to the Facebook group Jennifer Catcheway, Bring Her Home, to submit your tips. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And if you knew Jennifer, please share any memories of her, and I will see you in my next video.